I'm going to record too. So, okay, this is session 2 of Finding the Arizona Motherlode, my book. Last session 1, I talked way too longer than I was going to plan on talking. And so I wanted to talk about the more of the book, chapter 5 starting. And so chapter 1, we kind of got up to the mountain where I wanted to go and how I got there. Studying the mineralization got me to locate the point I wanted to go see. And I got a map up to it. I've been within sight of it. Now I want to just explain the Peralta Stones. Peralta Stones were some stone tablets found in the 50s by Florence Junction, not far from the Superstition Mountains, the Sacred Mountain here. And there was 4 main stones with maps on them and writing, and a couple more cross stones. So I'll just read this along. In the fall of 2014, a TV show featured the story about the Lost Dutchman mine. They were showing the Peralta Stones, and I noticed a curving line with dots that had a similar shape to the red line I had drawn up the butte. Up to this point, I'd intentionally stayed away from the treasure maps and other information on the Lost Dutchman mine, figuring they were bogus. I started to study the Peralta Stones and all the markings on them. There are 4 pieces, plus 2 cross, and a heart stone, so that's 5, plus 2 heart stones, or 2 cross stones. The heart stone fits into the heart indentation of the stone right here. So these are the map stones right here. This is the map stone. Most people think these are fake, and they're not real. They don't go to anything real. Somebody did them as a hoax to get publicity and get money from people. So, but when I found the spot that I believe is the Lost Dutchman mine with the mineralization and all the coincidences, then this latest TV show was on a Saturday. I noticed this squiggly line here. It's got 18 dots on it, and that looked a lot like the red line that I drew to route up the mountainside to get to the spot I wanted to go to. It's basically the same shape. So that really caught my eye. So I started looking at these closer, and over a couple of years, got a few good explanations on what these are and how this works. Here's kind of the same shape of that. The dots, the 18 dots that are on there, and another trail off this way, and looks similar to the routing that I plotted to go up the mountainside. So that really got my interest. Here's the Sacred Mountain, LaBarge Canyon, and there's a canyon that goes up here, washed out area, eroded area, and there's a gorge over here. Here's I call it the Sun Mountain, or the Sun Temple Mountain, right here. This is the South Peak. On the other side is a cave with a menacing face in it. So I'll explain that later on. But so this is the spot right here where the mineralization is. Cuts right across here. This white rock's about 50 feet across, 400 feet long. It runs through here. It's really interesting that later on I found that the shadow in the morning on this in the winter solstice and other times makes this mountain peak look like a pyramid from the alignment of the summer solstice sunrise. And when you watch that, there's another shadow on the backside that casts a shadow line down. It looks like a serpent going down into it. And I'll show you that later, but that goes right down into this white rock, this formation here that's energetic. It's just all consciousness altering rock right here. So I won't get much farther into that right now, but later on I will explain that. But so anyway, so that alignment there really got me. I had to go look at it. I know how to prospect. I know how to get around the mountains. I said, I'm going to go out there and look at it. I'll figure out a way to get up there, and I can check it out, see if it's real or not. The horse stone, that was the map stone right here. The heart. You flip that over, and it's got a bunch of zeros across it. Now there's two. There's another heart stone. It's a heart Latin stone and a heart Roman numeral stone. And the Latin stone has Latin words on it and it's heart shaped, so it fits in this. And there's a Roman numeral with a heart that fits in this on there. But those were is assays, and the Latin words in here get you oriented to the mountain and how this map fits it. This knife right here is a dagger that points to the east. That gives you your main directional bearing on the map. Most old maps pointed to the east, and didn't point to the north like the maps do now. This gets you oriented. Then you take those Latin words and get it oriented right on the mountain, like the South Peak, Gorge, and so on and so forth. I'll explain that later. But this is the map stone. So this here gets you up to the map stone or to the mountaintop, and this here explains the mountain, the mineralization on it. And later on, I found out other things too. The cross stones lead me to believe they were aware of the astrological observation area up here with the solstices. So whomever made these, I believe Father Kino made these. He was a map maker back in the late 1600s, Jesuit priest. The Indians liked him in this area. He was there quite a while, 20-some years, so he got to know this. I believe the church sent him here to find this. They sent him to New Spain to find this mountain. I believe everybody in ancient history has known about this mountain. It's the heart of the ancient world, and he was sent here to find it. But continuing on here with the finding, there's on a Motherlode book. I'm still looking for gold and silver at this time, so I'm not really even thinking about that stuff. But something's drawing me to all this. So here's the routing that I looked at originally, the map, studied that, copied the map. Also the map of the Lost Dutchman that Jacob Walsh had drawn for someone. Same shape in that. So I had to go look. The horse stone, it's saying who claimed this mine. So it's a claim marker. And expiration notes is what the Peralta Stones are. The horse of Santa Fe, or a servant of faith, meaning a priest from the church. Stone also says the pasture north of the river. At the north end of Queen Creek, there's a pasture at the base of the butte, and it's still used today for grazing cattle. In fact, I had to get out of the way and let a herd of cattle get herded through the gate to the south pasture for the season. So it's definitely the same place. It's the stones tell you how to get from where they were buried at the junction of Florence Boulevard and 60 there at the base of some foothills. Shows you how to get from there up to the location of the top of the mountain. The priest stone, I'll go back to that to show you the priest stone. Here's a priest stone. Some thought it was a witch. I believe it is a priest and standing on a pyramid. That's what I think. It was showing the church's dominance over the Mesoamerican faith, the pagan religions. Here it talks about the 18 lugars, which I believe were the 18 placer locations up this creek right here. This is an area here where you get down to the bottom of this washout of this mountain here, and you can set with your feet. Your feet are dead tired, and they're sore, and you set with your feet in the creek there, and no water running, but off the edge, and the tiredness leaves your feet in seconds, literally seconds. You can start to get a kind of a surreal feeling in your head, and that's what got somebody's attention long ago on this mountain, I believe. They noticed that. So the priest stone tells who claimed it. Here's the priest. Also, the 1847 is written on it. It says this place is dangerous. I go to 18 places, meaning the 18 dots. I've talked about that. Look for the map. Look for the heart. The little cross on the rectangle is the contract this person had with the church or the King of Spain. Each ranking member of the exploration party signed a contract stating that they would be honest about all discoveries and pay the required fees to Spain, 1/5. So like I said, I think the lugars are the placer spots for mining along the creek, the watershed there. I named that canyon that comes out of there Aurum Palais. It's Latin for Gold Canyon. Now there's two more Peralta stones, cross stones here. This has got some symbols on it. This has got a little bit of writing on it. So I wrote in the book, I realized that the Peralta stones are not trying to conceal the location of the mine, but are claim markers that tell the location, who claimed the mine, and the mineral deposit information. Know the word version of a modern geology report and claim markers all in one. The map stones have a dagger that points the directions, compass bearing to orient the map. I don't know all the symbols on it, but I've got enough that once you know the spot and you kind of backtrack, it's easier to decipher those. That adds up. The two stone crosses have a date of 1751 on them. And that's the time of the Pima Indian Revolt. The Pima Indians revolted against the Jesuit priests because of harsh discipline and slave labor demands for gold mining and silver. Also written on the crosses says the treasure of the Church of the Santa Fe. I believe the Jesuits were shown the gold by the Pima Indians prior to 1751 and staked the markers when the Indians revolted, knowing that they would have to leave the area for some time. That way they'd be able to come back and find it later. On the Latin Heartstone, there's an area called out as the religious area. And that was always interesting to me. When I went up there, I could see off to the east, the northeast, yeah, that's the flat top area over there. That's the religious area. It must be a place for ceremonies. You know, I could see the Jesuit priests being told by the Indians of their sacred spot, and they found gold laying on the ground there. Later on, it took me a couple of years to figure out that there's a lot more meaning to the religious area than meets the eye. Somebody who, like I say, made the map, I believe it was Father Kino, knew of how sacred the mountain was. This religious area is the center of the heart of the ancient world, as far as everybody's main goal in life was to ascend their consciousness to the Christ consciousness. So this all fits here later. As I put this together, you'll see. Here's one of the cross stones. Triangle with a line through it and a hill with it looks like a cave on it. So later on, I deciphered these items right here. The astronomical observatory up there has, this is the moon pyramid. There's a face cave on the mountainside, the Sun Temple pyramid. That's two of the triangle observatory. And then there's the section right here that they show, somebody here has deciphered as a circle with a circle in it. And that can be a symbol for the sun or gold. But I think they deciphered it wrong. I think, looking, here's the original, that it looks different. It looks kind of like a corkscrew seashell. So in the Heart of the Mountain book, I explain how these work here. But these 3 points are the astronomical observatory. that align with the summer solstice, the moonrise, through Quetzalcoatl's temple is what I called this here. This is that same white rock formation. And so we have this moon pyramid, the sun pyramid, and Quetzalcoatl's temple. And these three up on the mountain are about 3,000 feet apart, are the astronomical observatory. This right here, and this is pretty incredible that no one's been able to figure out what this is. So here's somebody just drew what they saw here. But studying the sun and how it works in the summer solstice time and the winter solstice time, the sun makes a different arc above the earth. And this, I believe, is the summer solstice. The sun traveling the path of the summer solstice. And here is the path on the winter solstice. And if you look at modern day graphs of the summer solstice and winter solstice, they look like this. It's really incredible. So that's pretty, somebody way back when knew about this observatory. They must have been told by the Indians that were here about it and how it worked. Okay, the map stone with the heart indentations has 1847 written on it. I believe the church knew Mexico was losing control of the area and restaked the deposit and recorded the mineral information on the Peralta Stones. Notice the number 10 below the 1847 that indicates how many highly concentrated mineral locations. The donut shape next to the 10 is a symbol for gold or the sun. Probably the gold here in this situation. The 10 highest assays have gold in them. When you follow the map heartstone to its location, you replace the heartstone with the Latin heartstone. Once you get there, you replace it with the Latin heartstone. Here's the 1847 written in the indentation. Here's the 10 with the circle indicating gold. Here's the Latin heartstones. These have Latin words written in them. And so if you take this heartstone and place it in the other stone, oriented with the mountain, remember this is east, you can line up the geographical locations, what these are. The words here, you see them better here. Noto triangulum, that means notice the triangle. Another word for triangle, or meaning for triangle, hundreds of years ago was pyramid. So the South Peak Pyramid looks like a pyramid from the direction of the summer solstice, the alignment of the summer solstice. So, and that's right there where that is. And there's a few more, quite a few. They all line up. Here's we go. Noto medulla, observe the middle. There's mines. You can see where the mines could have been. Here's one that was kind of interesting. This water over gold. Now, I couldn't figure out what water over gold meant. There's a Latin word here, water over gold. But the Aztecs called sacrificial blood precious water. I thought maybe that's what that means, that maybe that was a sacrificial area where the blood was spilled. Talk about voids or caves of some sort, the cacumen point or the peak. Noto is observe or notice. Medulla, middle, or the heart. Narrow pass, gorge, flat top. Transio ecclesia, religious assembly area. Or, like the Teotihuacan, the avenue of death. Transition from this life to the next. And I wrote this before I realized how much of a religious area this was and what it really meant. But this transition is what everybody transitioned from a lower consciousness to a Christ consciousness. So they were describing what the Indians had told them. This is the place to transition, to ascend, and to be enlightened, to be one with God, to commune with God once you got to a certain point, to discover that you're a part of, just a small part of a bigger thing. Everybody's connected. Everything is connected. So not just a religious assembly. There's a far more to it. This avenue of death, or the layout between the Sun Temple, the cave, and the Moon Temple, has the same bearing as the Avenue of Death in Teotihuacan. So that's really got me going back then. But there's a lot more to it. Like I say, the Teotihuacan was a model of the sacred mountain. I've believed that since about this time. I've started placing those two together. But it's been a couple of years since then, and so I really believe it now. So. Cavern of Gold. That's the Lost Dutchman mine. It's covered up with boulders. It's a wilderness area, so you can't go out there and dig it out. You just can't do it. You'll never get a permit to do it. So it's lost for eternity, and it's probably best. When I was out there looking for gold, I would have staked the claim, and if I could have, I would have dug it up. I'd had equipment on there and mining it. Since finding all the other things with the ancient civilization and the religion and the beliefs of the mountain, I'm glad I didn't. And so I wouldn't want to. So here's when you place the Latin heartstone on the satellite imagery, the map fits in there, and you got it, oriented by the dagger. And so now you can see, yeah, here's two mines over here. And I haven't been over on this side, but there's an indentation over here with some trees right there. So that's a good place. I bet you there's some adits right there. Over down here, where I believe the Lost Dutchman mine is, there's the Cavern of Gold is right there. The South Peak is right here at the South Peak, right here. So it fits. Religious area is right here. It's kind of a flat area right in here. I'm going to say right in here. Water over gold. So there's a cliff face about 200 feet high right there. They could have had sacrifices. The face cave is right down here, and there's one of the words here, I forget what it was, what it is, talks about an arch or a vault. And I haven't been to the face cave up to it yet, but that's one of the next trips I'm going to take in. So that fits. And then the Roman numeral, the assay reports sort of go right in here next to it. That's overlaid in here too. And so there's the top 10 are good assays. Also, I found a spring up here, which was way up in the hills, and probably after it rained. I was up there about a week after it rained, and that was trickling out. So I got to get a bottle of that water. I do have water that's come out of this erosion where it goes past. Where is it? Right here. I'm sorry. Where it goes past this formation and has eroded down this hill. That's the same cavern that I drew the red lines on. Heads down here. So I can go down here, hike down here. It's easier not to climb the mountain to do it, and get this float or the stone that's been eroded down the hill that has this energetic properties to it. Also, I got some drinking water right here at the intersection between this creek and this dried wash area, and I got some water right here. This is the water right here. It's kind of fun. Here's good satellite imagery. You can really see the mountain. This is what I thought the triangle was. Is the shadow on this side was notice the triangle. But since then, I believe it's the South Peak that looks like a pyramid. It's about the same size from that perspective. It looks like a pyramid, and if you map those corners out in that perspective, the size is the same as the Sun Temple in Teotihuacan. You go further down the base, and then it's the same. Then it's the same size as the Cholula pyramid, which is the largest pyramid in the world. So those are some, big coincidences. It's hard to believe that it's just a coincidence, but they even are layered like the steps on the Sun Pyramid in Teotihuacan. So that's even special, yeah. numerals, and here's the translation of the Roman numerals. You can get this book and download it off of the Arizona Motherlode or the my website, findingthearizonamotherlode.com. That has the ebooks files on it. You know, once you overlaid the Latin heart and the Roman numeral stones on the butte, you see how the mines and assays are called out. You know, no explorer wants to discover a deposit and not be able to find it again. I've done that before, and then you go back and you got to search for your spot again. You mark it. You only do that once, and then you mark it from then after. Nowadays I can put a GPS coordinate on it. And so the Peralta Stones are a good record of exploration. Pretty ingenious, really. The priests were working for the company of Jesus. They were employees of the Pope and had to record their findings so the church could find these deposits in the future. It's like working for an exploration company nowadays. If I went out and find these, were paid by the company to go find riches, I would stake the claims and mark it, map it, and the company owned that stuff. That's done the same way today with exploration companies. I used to do it professionally, so that's how it works. Here's where the map of the Peralta Stones, where they're found. Here's Apache Junction, Phoenix this way. 60 Florence Junction. Here's Florence Junction, Florence Boulevard down this way. The stones were found right here. It's kind of on the base of these rolling hills right here. Back in here, about 18 kilometers, is the Sacred Mountain, or the deposit. And the stones tell you how to get back there to here, how long it takes, how tough the course is to the bottom of the hill, then how tough the course is to the top of the hill. And they do that, you ask, by this formula right here. This has really got the treasure hunters scratching their head over the years. It's fun to listen to what all they have to say about what they think that is, but they really scratch their head. So here's my explanation. Now that I know where that mineralization is up on the mountain, when you find these Peralta stones out at that Florence Junction spot, you know, a Jesuit priest would know what to do with these. He would say, you know, so I'll read it right here. The equation's at the bottom right of the map stone. 2 equals 3, 0, and then 18 equals 7. Okay, when does 2 equals 3? Or when does 18 equal 7? Are you to get from the stone markers to the mountain and then up to the mountain? From the stones to the mountain, the distance is 18 kilometers, or 18 equals 7. 7 means leagues, 7 leagues. And a league is how far a man can walk in an hour. Typically, that is 3.4 miles on flat, clear land. The combination of the 18 and the 7 gives you a reading on how difficult the journey will be. Once to the mountain, you go 2 kilometers up, or 2 equals 3. 2 kilometers equals 3 leagues. It will take you 3 hours to make 2 kilometers. More difficult than the trip to the mountain. So that's how that works, and it does. It's 18 kilometers to the base of the mountain. It takes me longer 3 hours to get up because I'm an old man, but those young priests and guys that were used to walking for a living, they can make it 3 hours. I believe it. And if they find the best route, maybe I haven't found the best route yet, but it takes me like 4. Initially, I didn't want to learn about the Dutchman lore because I didn't want to get distracted by the bad clues. When I first saw the curvy canyon on the Peralta Stones, I knew they were real. Knowing where the deposit is helps decode the Peralta Stones. If I hadn't studied the stones, I would have had a harder time finding the deposit. I would have found the deposit, but I don't know for sure if that was really what it was. So this, along with the Dutchman's last words, helped locate this as the Lost Dutchman mine. Problem is, the Lost Dutchman mine is only a small, very, very small part of the mountain. And it's not that the gold was rich and that kind of thing. It's very neat for Southwest American history, but there's something far bigger, far grander at that mountain than this. And it's the same deposit. It's not the gold. You know, the Aztecs said gold is the excrement of the gods. So they knew that energetic dike of material there that gives you a funny feeling in your head was Quetzalcoatl, the god. And they contribute. Quetzalcoatl taught them agriculture, hydraulics, of all the canals that were in the Valley of the Sun long ago. Somebody engineered all that stuff. There's still signs of it here and there. I'm a builder in the Valley of the Sun and ran across that stuff before. So it taught them astronomy too. So I've attributed God as kind of a divine inspiration to put this geological technique of finding these volcanic vents. I just couldn't believe I was running across this and I was actually figuring this stuff out. And then I put this kind of fell in my lap with the map and then deciphering the Peralta Stones. I found myself saying, you know, God's teaching me how to do this. And then I realized that it's the same thing that the Aztecs said, or the Mesoamericans, is that their God told them to. And I came to the same conclusion they did. So that's pretty interesting. It's quite a moment to find this. Next part of the book is about Jacob Walsh, and there's really nothing new and exciting about it. Everybody's heard about Jacob Walsh, the Lost Dutchman mine. He was a German immigrant, a miner, and he was kind of he'd bounce around on mines too. He wasn't a great miner, actually, is what I've heard. But he found it and he killed 4 people, and he confessed. One was his own nephew to keep the secret of his mine. So he wasn't a good guy. Wasn't a good guy at all. He lived to be a lot older than I thought he should back in those days, you know. And then when they found a box of the gold ore under his bed there, so if that was energetic, like the rock that I get off the country rock, it's not the high grade stuff, then he probably was very healthy. I think he died of pneumonia from getting caught in a storm. I think it flooded out his farm in southern or South Phoenix, I believe. So he lived to be old. This is the map that in Helen Corbin's book, The Bible of the Lost Dutchman Mine, and Jacob Walsh. It's the best book out there on the subject. She has a lot of stuff in there. Some of the stuff isn't any good, but you know they don't know that when they write this. They put everything they can find on the stories in there. So some of it is good. This map was one of them. This is a good map. This shows the weaver's needle in the background too. So this is made by not a map maker but a miner, probably uneducated. And he drew maps as he looked at it standing up, not in plan view. So makes sense. Okay, 6:30, so it's about a half hour. I'm going to call that time. The next chapters talk about New Spain and Friar Marcos Niza looking for the 7 cities of Cibola. Cibola also means bison, so I wrote some papers that are in the Facebook page that talk about some of that stuff. So that's kind of fun. New Spain, kind of the routes of the explorers back in the day. Father Kino along the Gila River right here. He didn't write anything about going up anywhere above that, but I think that was a secret. I think they kept that secret. He really flourished when he was there. He had ranches, lots of cattle, farming. And I think he must have found something up in the Superstition Mountains, is what I believe. I believe the Catholic Church has it. And he probably started understanding the ancient religion and why this was sacred and the consciousness. And that's when the Jesuits were run out of New Spain. I don't think it was because the King of Spain was unhappy with them. I think the church shut that off because they didn't want to spread that gospel. They wanted to keep Christianity going and their control on it. So that's just my thought. Father Kino was a German immigrant. He went to school, studied cartography, mathematics. He was famous for being smart at it. And he's the guy, he wanted to go to China. The church sent him here. So he was the best guy to come here and figure all this out, find this out. So that's what believe that's why they sent him. Here's in 1854, the Gadsden purchased everything lower than the Gila River right in there. So that became United States after that point. There's some other, they fought for some of it before that too, a chunk of that. But so we'll stop there. So I hope you enjoyed that discussion. We'll do another one next Sunday and talk. We only got a couple more chapters, and then we're going to get into the book Unearthing the Key, and that's this white volcanic rock that I found in the Bradshaws that has this energetic properties that's consciousness altering. So it's very cool. Got it when I found that. I started getting into the quantum physics and everything, and realized there's a lot more to know out there than we were taught. And but there's just a lot out there. Energy, everything is energy. If you understand everything, think of it in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, and that gives you the basis to understand everything. So that said, we'll see you next week.